He told me she was a business partner. So I scheduled the meeting. Showed up with the agenda. Transparency, accountability, closure. She didn't stay for the coffee. I'm a 45-year-old man living in a suburb of Chicago. I had been married to Rachel for 17 years. We had 2 kids, Lily and Ben, both in high school. Life was routine but comfortable. Rachel had recently started her own marketing consultancy, which meant longer hours and more networking events. She often mentioned a new client, Alex, who was helping her expand her business. She spoke highly of him, always emphasizing their professional relationship. Over time, I noticed changes. Rachel became more distant, her phone always in hand, constantly texting. When I asked, she said it was just work. One evening, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she took a shower. A message popped up. "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing." My heart sank. I picked up the phone, hands trembling. There were dozens of messages between her and Alex, none of them professional. Photos, plans, declarations of love. When she came back downstairs, I confronted her. She denied it at first, then broke down and admitted everything. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. "It just did." I moved into the guest room that night. I spent weeks in a fog. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The betrayal consumed me. But then, something shifted. I realized I didn't want to be a victim. I wanted closure. I started gathering information. I learned that Alex was married, with 2 kids. His wife, Samantha, was a stay-at-home mom. I reached out to her anonymously, sending her screenshots of the messages between Rachel and Alex. She was devastated. We decided to confront them together. I scheduled a meeting with Rachel and Alex under the guise of discussing a potential business opportunity. We agreed to meet at a local coffee shop. When they arrived, they were surprised to see Samantha and me sitting at the table. I handed them each a folder labeled Transparency, Accountability, Closure. Inside were printouts of their messages, photos, and a letter detailing the pain they had caused. Rachel looked at me, eyes wide. "What is this?" "It's everything you've hidden," I said. "Everything you've destroyed." Samantha stood up. "I hope it was worth it." Alex tried to speak, but no words came out. Rachel stood up, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry." She didn't stay for the coffee. The divorce was messy, but I got full custody of the kids. Rachel moved out of state, and we haven't spoken since. Samantha and I remained in touch, supporting each other through the aftermath. It wasn't the ending I had envisioned for my marriage, but it was the closure I needed. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply moving on. A few weeks after the meeting at the coffee shop, things were quiet. Too quiet. Rachel had moved out, and the house felt empty even though the kids were still around. Lily barely spoke to her mother anymore. Ben didn't want to visit her at all. I didn't stop them. I figured she'd earn back their trust if she could. I was more focused on keeping things steady at home, school runs, groceries, work. Just normal stuff. I was exhausted, but I kept going. Then I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. It was 1 page. "You think you're the only one who can play games?" No signature. Just that line. I didn't show it to the kids. I didn't even tell Samantha. I burned the letter in the fire pit that night, thinking maybe it was just some dumb scare tactic. But then my tires got slashed the next morning. I filed a police report. There wasn't much they could do. No cameras outside the house. No witnesses. Nothing stolen. Just 4 clean slashes and a sick feeling in my stomach. A few days later, I got a call from Rachel's lawyer. She wanted to revisit the custody agreement. "She says you're emotionally manipulating the kids," the lawyer said. "She's pushing for 50-50. I laughed when I got off the phone. Not because it was funny. Just because it was ridiculous. After everything she did, now she wanted to play the victim? I wasn't going to let that happen. I started documenting everything. Every conversation with Rachel. Every time she missed a call with the kids. Every complaint the kids had about her. I even installed a camera at the front door. I wasn't taking chances anymore. But then Samantha called me one night, around midnight. "She's been talking to Alex again," she said, voice shaking. "I just saw it on his phone. She'd caught him sneaking messages. Again. This time, it was worse. Rachel had been telling him that I was abusive and unstable. She even told him I'd been threatening her. I couldn't believe it. She was rewriting the whole story, trying to make herself the victim. Again. I told Samantha everything I'd done to prepare. The folders. The copies. The lawyer. The evidence. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "You're going to have to go all in. She's not going to stop." And I knew she was right. That week, I filed for a restraining order. I submitted the letter, the photos of the tires, the text Samantha had screenshotted from Alex's phone. It took hours of paperwork and 2 trips to the courthouse, but eventually a judge agreed to a temporary order. Rachel was served at work. I heard from someone in her office that she lost it. Threw a stapler. Cried in the hallway. Screamed at her assistant. But I didn't care anymore. The only thing I cared about was protecting my kids, and the truth. But then something happened I hadn't expected. Ben found a phone in his backpack. It was turned off, but when he brought it to me, I charged it. There was only one message in it. "You're going to regret this. All of it." The sender? Blocked number. No contact name. I kept the phone. Took it straight to the police. They took it seriously this time. Meanwhile, my lawyer called. "Rachel's filing for full custody," he said. "She's claiming you're endangering the kids." That's when I realized this wasn't about love anymore. Or heartbreak. Or even cheating. This was war. And she wasn't going to stop until she burned everything down. So I changed tactics. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd keep everything clean. Sharp. Documented. And if she wanted a courtroom, I'd bring the whole truth with me, one file at a time. But something still didn't sit right. Who put the phone in Ben's backpack? Because Rachel wouldn't risk getting caught like that. Which means someone else is involved. And I have a few ideas who it might be. 2 weeks after the phone in the backpack incident, things got worse. The restraining order had kicked in, and Rachel was officially not allowed near the house or the kids without a third-party supervisor. That didn't stop the strange stuff, though. Lights flickering at night. The garage door opening by itself. My mailbox left open, even though I shut it every day. Nothing I could prove, but enough to keep me up at night. One morning I found Max, the dog, curled up under the deck. Shaking. Someone had thrown something at him. He wasn't hurt, but there was a deep scratch down his side like he'd been scared into running through the bushes or maybe something worse. That pushed me over the edge. I installed more cameras. Bought floodlights. Even told the neighbors to keep an eye out. I wasn't letting anything else happen on my watch. Then Samantha called again. "Can we meet?" she asked. "It's about Alex." We met at the same coffee shop where we'd confronted them before. She looked pale, eyes darker than usual. "He's been different lately. Paranoid. Always checking his phone. Won't let me near his office," she said. Then she pulled out a flash drive. "I found this in a shoebox under his desk," she said. "I didn't want to open it until I saw you." We plugged it into my laptop right there at the table. Emails. Photos. Audio clips. Hundreds of files. Conversations between Alex and Rachel. Discussions about me. The kids. My job. Even my finances. One audio file changed everything. It was from a phone call. Rachel and Alex talking. Rachel. "He's not going to stop, Alex. He thinks if he exposes us, people will take his side. But we know things. We know what he's done." Alex. "I know. But if we push too hard, it'll blow back. Samantha's suspicious. Rachel. Then maybe it's time we start using that leverage. He's got a temper, right? Just nudge it. Make him slip. My hands were shaking. Samantha looked horrified. They were trying to bait me. Create a narrative. Twist everything so I'd look unstable in court. It was never about getting back together. It wasn't even about the kids. It was about destroying me. That night, I went to the police again. Gave them the flash drive. Showed them the audio. My lawyer filed a motion to admit it as evidence in the custody case. Things were finally moving in my favor. Then my boss called me into his office. There's been a complaint, he said. Anonymous. It accused me of harassment. Of threatening female coworkers. Of creating a hostile work environment. All lies. I had a clean record. Never even raised my voice at the office. But HR had to. Investigate. 3 days suspension. No pay. Just like that. And I knew exactly where the complaint came from. They weren't just trying to ruin my home life anymore. They were going after everything. So I made a decision. I hired a private investigator. It felt dirty. Like something out of a movie. But I needed to know how far this went. If Alex and Rachel were behind everything, fine. But if there was someone else in the shadows helping them, feeding them info, I needed to find out. 3 days later, the PI called. You might want to sit down for this, he said. It wasn't just Alex and Rachel. It was Rachel's brother, Dylan. I hadn't even thought about him. He'd always been quiet at family events. Lived in Milwaukee. Worked in IT. I barely knew the guy. Turns out he'd been using his tech skills to hack into my email. My bank. Even the school's parent portal. He had access to everything. And he'd been passing it all to Rachel. Quietly. For months. That's how they knew my schedule. That's how the phone ended up in Ben's backpack. Dylan had shown up at the school posing as a delivery guy. Left it in Ben's locker during lunch. I couldn't breathe when I heard that. They were trying to set me up as a danger to my own children. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was calculated. Targeted. And far from over. The next few weeks felt like I was walking through fire barefoot. I didn't tell the kids anything yet. They already had enough weight on their shoulders. I stayed calm at home, acted normal. Took them to school, cooked dinner, helped with homework. But inside, I was boiling. I had the flash drive. I had the PI's report. I had the evidence of my emails being accessed illegally. Still, I knew Rachel would spin it. She always had a way of flipping the truth. She'd say I was paranoid. That I was obsessed. That I was dangerous. I was tired of playing defense. My lawyer submitted a formal complaint to the court about Dylan's involvement. We filed criminal charges, cyber intrusion, harassment, and tampering. A few days later, the cops showed up at his apartment in Milwaukee. They took his laptop, his phone, and a hard drive. He was arrested on the spot. Rachel didn't show up at the next court hearing. Her lawyer stood in for her and asked for a delay. The judge denied it. Too many delays. Too many lies. Then something snapped. Rachel started showing up at my house. Ignoring the restraining order. One night, around 2 a.m., she rang the doorbell for 20 minutes straight. I didn't answer. I just recorded everything. The next day, she emailed me a video. It was of her, standing in front of my house, crying. "He won't let me see my kids," she said to the camera. "I'm scared for them." She posted it online. It got shared around our neighborhood Facebook group. People started whispering. I got nasty looks at the grocery store. At first. Then I posted my own receipts. The screenshots. The audio clips. The report from the PI. The police reports. All of it. I didn't use insults. I didn't rant. I just posted the facts. It went viral. Fast. People flipped. Rachel deleted her account within hours. Alex's office fired him 2 days later. Samantha filed for divorce. Rachel's clients pulled out from her business one by one. Dylan lost his job. His company didn't want anything to do with someone who hacked into a family's private life. I wasn't done. At the final custody hearing, I showed up with the whole file. Emails, texts, voice recordings. The judge listened. Quietly. Rachel didn't say a word. Her lawyer tried to argue emotional distress and unfair surveillance, but the judge stopped him. In the end, the judge gave me sole legal and physical custody of the kids. Rachel was granted supervised visitation once a month. But the last twist came after the hearing. Ben came to me holding an envelope he found in the mail. No return address again. Inside was a printed sheet. You won. But you were never perfect. She didn't cheat for fun. She cheated because you forgot her. I stared at that paper for a long time. Because it wasn't completely wrong. I had made mistakes too. I checked out during our last years together. Stopped complimenting her. Got lazy with date nights. Took the quiet for comfort, when maybe it was distance. No, I didn't deserve what she did. But I wasn't blameless either. Still, cheating isn't therapy. Betrayal isn't a coping skill. You leave if you're unhappy. You talk or you walk. You don't burn down the whole house while your kids are still inside. Rachel did that. And I let it happen longer than I should have. That night, I burned the last letter just like the first. Not out of fear. Out of closure. Because the war was over. Not everyone survived it. But the truth did.